Hello children, how are you all of you? Very systematically and successfully we have completed the chapter second, that is the depreciation. Now next chapter, that is the provision and reserve. This is your third chapter we are going to start today. So what do you mean by provision and what is the meaning of reserve? Let's talk about it. This chapter is entirely theoretical chapter. इसमें पूरी की पूरी बच्चों थियरी है. यहाँ पे कोई आपको सम्स नहीं करने हैं, तो आपको जो है थियरी अंडरस्टैंड करनी है. तो आई विल ट्राई माई लेवल बेस्ट टू एक्सप्लेन यू दिस. तो हम लोग पहले तो यही समझें कि भाई प्रोविज़न होता क्या है. मैं एक छोटे से एग्जाम्पल के साथ में इसे शेयर करना चाहूँगा. शायद आप लोगों ने आज तो ये चीज़ नहीं देखी होगी, लेकिन जब हम लोग छोटे थे तो ड्यूरिंग दैट टाइम हमारे मम्मी जो है मोस्टली घर का ही काम करते थे. वो तो कहीं कमाने जाते नहीं थे. और डैडी जो है अर्निंग करते थे. तो डेफिनेटली घर का जो भी एक्सपेंस होता था, खर्चा होता था, वो मम्मी करती थी. तो जो भी सैलरी का पैसा आता था दैट वाज गिवन बाय फादर टू द मॉम. पिताजी वो मम्मी को दे देते थे. और मम्मी क्या करती थी, बिकॉज उस ज़माने में कोई बैंक वगैरह इतने पॉपुलर नहीं होते थे, तो मुझे याद है बराबर से हमारे घर में जो है ऐसे मम्मी जो भी सैलरी के पैसे आते थे उनको आटों के डब्बों में, चावल के डब्बे में, दाल के डब्बों में ऐसे अंदर जो है दबा के रख देते थे वो लोग. और जब बहुत ज़्यादा प्रॉब्लम होती थी कि कहीं से कोई और सोर्स नहीं आ रहा है या कभी सैलरी वगैरह आने में लेट हो गया, तो उन्हीं पैसों से जो है फिर घर का खर्चा चलाया जाता था. सो दैट इज़ कॉल्ड द प्रोविज़न. यानी आपने आपके भविष्य में होने वाले खर्चों की तैयारी जो है आपने एट प्रेजेंट में करके रख ली. दैट इज़ कॉल्ड द प्रोविज़न. एक और एग्जांपल दे देता हूँ. बहुत से लोगों के घर में जो है जब किसी छोटे बच्चे का जन्म होता है तो ड्यूरिंग दैट टाइम उसके नाम से सर्टेन रुपीज़ जो है आज की तारीख में बैंक में जमा कर दिए जाते हैं कि भाई जब वो ग्रेजुएट होगा या कोई और पर्टिकुलर टाइम पीरियड में उसे मनी की जब ज़रूरत पड़ेगी तो ही कैन यूटिलाइज दैट मनी. तो जो आपने आज प्रेजेंट में फ्यूचर के लिए एक ज़रिया बना के रखा है दैट इज़ कॉल्ड द प्रोविज़न. उसे प्रोविज़न बोलते हैं. बराबर है. और उसका डायरेक्टली रिलेशन रिजर्व के साथ में भी है कि आपने ये प्रोविज़न करके रखा है कि आपने जो रिजर्व किया है, जो संभाल के रखा है, उसका आप इन फ्यूचर यूटिलाइज कर सको. ठीक है. सो इन दैट कंटेस्ट वी विल ट्राई टू अंडरस्टैंड दिस चैप्टर. सो फर्स्ट इज दैट ट्राई टू अंडरस्टैंड द प्रोविजन और द रिजर्व. व्हाट इज दैट एग्जैक्टली? सो an amount appropriated out of the profit to increase the financial soundness of the business or meet with the contingent loss or liability in future or the honored probable liabilities is known as the provisions or reserve. Means to face the uncertainty which is going to come near future, about which we are unknown, whatever the financial arrangement is done by the owner of the business, that is the subject of provision and reserve. I hope you understood this one. ये आपको समझ में आया होगा. Okay. Now amount of reserve is appropriated out of the profit in the year in which it is incurred. Means from where we do the provision. So whatever our earning is there, in our earning certain part we save in one side, and that is the subject of provision. Next, provision is to be made for the specific purpose. This is also happen in our home also कि भाई ये शादी के लिए खर्चा है, ये खाने के लिए खर्चा है, ये हॉस्पिटल के लिए इंश्योरेंस का खर्चा है. ओके. सो स्पेसिफिक पर्पस के लिए स्पेसिफिक जो प्रोविजंस करते हैं फॉर नॉन एज द लाइबिलिटी ऑफ द बिजनेस. सो प्रोविजंस आर द लाइबिलिटी ऑफ बिजनेस. देयरफॉर इन द ईयर which business suffer a loss even though the provision amount is supported to the span. Now amount of provision is appropriated from the profit or loss account. Main type of reserve are here revenue reserve and second is the capital reserve. Main type of revenue is the general reserve, specific reserve and secret reserve. General reserve and secret reserve are shown in the balance sheet under the heading of reserve and surplus on liability side. This one you keep in your mind for your MCQ, fill in the blanks and true and false. Now see, there are uncertainties in the human life. Okay, and it is unpredictable. You can't predict that. That means this will be going to happen. Like accident. Okay. Like another kind of expenses. Heavy financial loss due to any reason. Typical disease. Similarity, we find the different type of uncertainties and risk in the business also. Against this uncertainties and risk, if businessman is able to do some financial planning from the profit of the business every year, he can get rid of all these uncertainties and risks very easily. Means if you have done plan for that in past, then you can face any kind of financial challenges in future. Okay. Can risk very easily, just like a practical life persons, we do advanced planning of the house or other associations of the family. While writing book of account, it is assumed that the existence of the firm will continue for a considerable long period. This is the most important concept, children. And the firm will not be dissolved within near future, or business transaction will not be curtailed considerably. Instead of withdrawing entire amount of profit or revisiting in the business, some amount of profit appropriated and transferred to the reserve, so that the firm can exist even in adverse situation and can grow again or can re-establish it again. Thus an amount spread from the profit of the business to maintain the existence of business, firm to increase the financial soundness of the business, to maintain the existence of the firm. The adverse condition is known as the provision and reserve. Okay. Now see, for ownership and partnership concern, legally it is not required to separate amount of reserve, but for the company and cooperative society, legally and compulsory to provide the reserve and therefore distributing profit and dividend. Against the further probable loss or risk, appropriation of amount from profit is known as the provision or reserve. Now different aspect related to this I am going to explain you one by one. Okay, which may be your questions. First, what is provision? So provision means an amount appropriated from profit to honor probable liabilities which can be identified but the amount of which cannot be uncertained accurately. What are the characteristics of provisions? So characteristics of provisions: provision in an amount which is appropriated from profit or income of specific purpose. Provision is an amount appropriated from profit for probable expenses or losses or the liabilities for which the amount cannot be determined accurately. Provision is appropriated out of the profit and loss account. Next, what importance of provision? What are the importance of provision? Okay, so first is to know the future liability can be spread evenly over certain year by making provisions. Second, provision is made for probable expenses, loss and liability of respective year, and hence true profit or loss of the business can be ascertained. If provision is not made against decreased in the value of asset in future, the capital of the business may wiped off. Such risk can be avoided by the making provision. What is the meaning of reserve? Okay, an amount appropriated out of the profit to increase financial soundness of the business or to meet with the contingent loss or liability of the business in future is known as reserve. Okay. Now different kinds of reserve are given there: dividend equalization fund, debenture redemption fund, investment fluctuation fund, work accident compensation fund, sinking fund. All these are different type of reserve. Most important question: how the secret reserve is created? By undervaluing closing stock, by showing the more expenses than actual one, by showing the contingent liability as actual liability, by making the more provision of the depreciation, by recording the capital expenditure in profit and loss account. Okay. The most important and last question that I am going to share here, that is, what is the distinguish between general reserve and provision? So first point of difference is the purpose. General reserve is created to increase the financial soundness of the business, while provision is made to meet with non-probable liabilities or losses of the business. What is the uses? So uses of general reserve can be used for any purpose, while provision can be used only for the purpose for which it is created. Next, dividend. General reserve can be used for the distribution of dividend. Provision cannot be used for the distribution of dividend. This is the most important point. Investment. General reserve amount can be invested in the outside of the business. Provision amount cannot be invested in or outside the business. Account. General reserve is created out of profit and loss appropriation account, while provision is created out of the profit and loss account. Compulsion. An amount is appropriated to general reserve if there is profit in the business and it is voluntary, while provision is made even if there is loss in the business and it is compulsory. Okay. Balance sheet. General reserve is shown in balance sheet in liability side under the heading of reserve.